Hello everyone, Josh from Encore, the Mustang Parts Warehouse. In the warehouse today, and I've got the 90 to 93 Ford Mustang steering columns, steering wheels, airbags, and clock springs, and multifunction switches that I'm going through and reorganizing my storage, and I'm changing up the way that I'm listing them. So my first video was my 87 to 89 tilt and fixed. I explained how they're very much all kind of cookie cutter and very bland as far as options. As you can see, looking through some of the background, you can see there's some red airbags, red steering wheels. You even get a little closer. We've got black horn buttons over there and red over here. Here's a blue one. So much different than the 70 or the 87 to 89, where it was just one color and you either had cruise or cruise delete. In the 90 to 93, you had the options in most of the 4-cylinder and economy, maybe V8s. You would get a rubber steering wheel. It literally feels like a shoe bottom. No real graining in it. It's just pretty smooth all the way across. A little bit for your fingers to grab onto, but nothing pronounced, or that you would be like comparing it with how worn is this wheel. It's almost hard to say on a rubber wheel. They last a pretty long time. The other option was a leather wheel, and those can be very easily, here's a nice one. These can very easily be affected by the elements, by how many miles they have. There is a stitching in it. Might be some Ford genuine leather product there. But that's what I think a lot of you who are here today are going to be looking for, is more of the premium stitched leather V8 wheel or a whole column. And while we're in here, I don't have three hands. I was gonna start looking around for part numbers because there's so much to discuss when it comes to airbag and clock spring parts. Even turn signal switches are very year specific, where you can't mix and match. And if it's an airbag you want to function, or at least your light to go off, you definitely want to make sure you have the right year parts and you're not twisting wires together on a system so important. But so yeah, the rubber blue ones I have a few of, and they had a corresponding airbag, and in a lot of cases those were in your 92, 93 Mustangs, where your whole dash would be that color, your A-pillars, everything would just be, for lack of a better term, murdered out in that color of the year. So there are other pieces, if you're looking for them, specific to your 92, 93 in red and blue. I've got them. You can even see those are two different color wheels. I think I've been finding the 93 is the dark red, kind of a one-year ruby red color, and the others, I hope to say I'm right, with a scarlet, but it's a little bit kind of a brighter, darker, much easier to see. But what's neat is they offered the red stitched and leather. We can look at the maroon one. That's should be a 93 only, ruby red, leather wrapped steering wheel. I've never seen a blue one. Doesn't mean they didn't exist. Maybe if you see one in a Mustang, it might have come out of a truck or a Lincoln or something else. These wheels are not, I don't think these wheels are 100% specific to a Mustang. They sure look like an F-150 wheel to me, and maybe some other products. If you guys know any better than I do, the complete lineup that these fit, go ahead and mention it down below. But again, like, my listings are going to change. What I've been doing is just, I've had a stock photograph where you could either buy a column or just individual airbag pieces, which will probably remain the same on eBay and my website. eBay's a little finicky about listing airbag parts, which I totally get. You know, there's liability issues or concerns maybe there. So a lot of the stuff you'll find on my website. I have the clock springs. I test them every time before I were to sell one. And I've got them all broken down by the exact part number on there. So if you know what you're looking for, part number wise, you should be able to go on my website and find the clock spring via F0, F1, F2, F3. I think they all have an individual year. And as you can see, just because it's a airbag, leather wrapped, you know, kind of premium looking wheel, we got a 3-pin plug here and a round 3-pin. You go, I can see 2 over here. You know, they've got that one yellowed out. It's a different, the black connector there is different than the one over, gray one over here. So some of the stuff does not even interchange and hook up. So before you go buying any parts, even if you're just putting your Mustang together, you want to have the right parts. If you can, buy a 90 column for your 90 Mustang. Make sure everything is, you know, upfront about that. It'll save you a lot of trouble and headache in the future, I think, of the ownership of the vehicle. You want your horn to work. You don't want lights flashing all the time. And that brings me to another point with these airbag clock springs. If I don't think I have a loose one right here, but what they are is it's a way to connect your dashboard to your steering wheel without having wires that obviously get bound up, would get bound up if they were just wound in some other fashion, you know, or a length of wire. You can't really, let's see, I just was behind one where Ford still uses an electrical grid. This probably is a 90. This is still a very mechanical electrical gridding with some circuit boards on the back. They kind of got away from that, I think, in the later ones. Yeah, they didn't use, it's fully encased. There's no more parts. But what a clock spring is it's a very thin circuit that's wound, I'm going to guess, around 4.5 times. I could probably turn around. Let's see, do I have a, I've got a bunch of loose columns over here. Yeah, let's take a walk over here. So there's instructions, oops. So there's instructions on these clock springs, how to center them. So when you go install your column in your car, you really only get about 3.5 rotations. They say in either direction, like a lock to lock. So you don't want to be spinning your wheel while it's off the car. If you can avoid it, you can snap this clock spring, and they don't make them anymore. Nobody's gonna probably take on the expense and the liability of rebuilding or remanufacturing something like this. So as we can see, there's a F1 part number hanging out right here on that one, F1. We got an F2 over here. These are all specific to the year. Here's an F0, so that's 1990 only, 1991 only, 1992 only, and 93 sell like hotcakes. So on this particular rack, I bet I don't have any to show y'all. But look at all the different, you know, just, oh, there's an F3 part number on a damaged clock spring. So there would have been a spool, basically, of loose kind of wire in here, about maybe 5 full spins. And what it does is it's able then to connect to your dash harness and your computer and all the modules to, you know, tell it has, you know, and blow the airbag off as well. So that's what a clock spring is and does. And over time, I'm sure they can snap and go bad. So there's a little bit, maybe more about a Mustang's operation than you knew you were coming for today. But since there's so many here, it looks like about 25 to 30 complete columns. What I'm going to do is I'm going to definitely take home this really nice wheel right here. Any of you with a keen eye may have noticed 2 things. And those 2 things are 93 Cobra parts. There is a steering wheel only, and there is this complete column. That's where we started off at. So I'm probably going to clean up and list with keys and all, even the pigtails might just stay, a very nice 93 Cobra complete steering column. And then I will also have 1 wheel. I lost track of it myself. I have the keen eye, but I know I snuck it in here somewhere. And a lot of this film and dirt and dust and stuff, of course, will be taken off. I'll take the best pictures I can and start listing these things. Maybe just wheels individually. Maybe that's all a lot of people need is wheels and clock springs. I know the 90 to 93 doesn't offer a tilt, so it's kind of a bummer if that's what you got and you're not really comfortable changing over to like an earlier tilt. I'm scanning myself looking for that other 93 Cobra, loose wheel only. Well, if you see it in the chat, you let me know where it is. And then I've got 2 or 3 pieces right now that I've got separated out. Like I said, I couldn't display everything here, but I came across some that were so nice. I wanted to make sure I pulled those aside, got those ready to sell. So I guess we can, maybe it was another column, not just a loose wheel. Is it another column? There it is. It was another column. So I have 2 93 Cobra columns, it appears. No key in that ignition there. And I'm just basing that off of what I see. If you know something different or want me to verify anything for your Cobra needs or clone needs, hit me up. I brought this dude out because it's an airbag with a some kind of a aftermarket steering wheel. You know, I'm going to start listing stuff like that. Nobody's going to call me and say, hey, do you have exactly that wheel on a non-tilt? So this is just a preview, cleaning up the warehouse, reorganizing these things and changing how I list. So there's going to be some red rubbers, some red leathers, a few of those. And I do have all the airbags for these as well. I don't think maybe a couple black ones I've sold, but I've never sold a loose colored bag. So it looks like there's 6 or 7 red here. Maybe a couple more. So watch my eBay store for this kind of unique stuff, whatever it'll allow me to list. I want to try and get up there with pictures and videos and flip everything around so you know you can get the best look at it that you can. But eBay is very restrictive on anything airbag related, so you might have to go to my website to buy a lot of these parts for sure. The bag itself, the clock spring, just depends on what they flag, and I'm not going to be the one to try and dodge around the system. Clock springs were up there for a while, and I just let the quantity expire. Kind of wanted to revisit this before I started selling anymore. So there you go, 90 to 93. We got the airbags, we got the steering wheels and all different rubbers and leathers and probably everything Ford offered. 2 93 Cobra steering columns. We talked about clock spring parts and differences and why you better buy parts that are number matched to your year. It just makes it a lot easier. And if there's any parts that you're looking for that maybe I might be able to help provide you, find me on eBay, Encore MPW. Visit my website, EncoreMPW.com, or comment down below. Josh at Encore in the Mustang Parts Warehouse. Thanks for your time and attention. Talk to you later.